In this video, we're talking all about how to write expressions. So these are going to be algebraic expressions. We're not actually solving any of these. We are basically just taking the word form of something mathematical and turning it into an algebraic expression. Expression means there's no equal sign, so we are not going to be actually solving these, just writing these out. So we've got 3 different levels. Let's start with some examples on easy level. So here we see 17 increased by 2. So our keyword there is going to be increased. So we could write this as 17 plus 2, or with addition, you can reverse the order using the commutative property, so either of those would be acceptable. All right, here we see 8 multiplied by 7. There's our keyword multiplied, so this can be written in several different ways. We can write 8 times 7. However, now that we are starting to get into some algebraic expressions, I usually caution students against using the X symbol as the multiplication symbol. Now we are going to start moving to using either the raised dot for the times symbol, or you can also write it like this, or you could write it like this. So parentheses, when 2 numbers or a number and a variable are in parentheses and put together with no sign in between, then that means multiplication. And just like addition with multiplication, you can write these in the other direction. 7 times 8 is the same as 8 times 7. You could do that with all of these examples. So lots of different ways that you could write this one. Let's look at the next one, 60 divided by 10. So we can write this one in a few different ways as well. We can use the division symbol, 60 divided by 10. Now with division, you cannot write it the other way. This is not the same as 10 first and then 60 after the division symbol. So this is not the correct way to write it. It does need to be in the order that you read it, 60 divided by 10. Another way that you'll start to see this written, division problems written, is fractions. So 60 over 10 is the same as 60 divided by 10. So we're going to start looking at fractions as division problems. In our last example in level 1, we see 18 reduced by 4. So reduced by means that we are going to take away. And just like division, we have to write this in a particular order. It's not like addition or multiplication where we can switch the numbers. So 18 is being reduced by 4. So that means that we're starting off with the amount of 18 and we are taking away or subtracting 4 from that. Let's go on to level 2. These are more intermediate. The vocabulary is maybe a little bit new or something different that you haven't heard before, but let's get into some examples. All right, so in this first problem, we have the total of 3 and b. So in a lot of these expressions, when you see them written out, you will see the word and. So that and is telling you the 2 things that you are putting together, or you are doing whatever the operation is. So this total of is telling you that we are putting together 3 and b. So we've got 3 plus b. So the total we are adding together. We're also starting to get into all of these expressions have variables in them. In the problems that we did before, they were just numbers. So now we're using variables. Variables are just letters that we use to represent numbers that we don't know yet. So they are basically just taking the place of an unknown number. So we are adding 3 to something, some number. We're just going to call that number b for now. All right, let's take a look at this next one. 6 less than n. Be careful when it's worded like this. These can be very tricky. We see the 6 first, and then we see n. We know that less than means subtract. So what that means is that we're starting with n and then taking away the 6 from that. So the way that we would write this is n minus 6. So be careful with that one. Don't let that wording trick you. All right, now let's take a look at the sum of x and y. So there's, again, a keyword that's telling us the operation. Sum means to add, and then the and tells us the 2 things that we are putting together, that we are doing with that operation. So the sum of x and y we can write as x plus y or y plus x because we can write addition in any order. Let's take a look at this last one, the quotient of w and 15. So again, here's our operation, and that is telling us, that and is telling us what our two terms are that we are doing with that operation. So quotient means divide. So the quotient of w and 15, again, be careful with the order here. So what this means is we have to put it in order of w first, and then that is being divided by 15, or we can write it as a fraction, w over 15. We cannot write 15 divided by w, or we cannot write 15 over w. Those are not the same thing. That would be the quotient of 15 and w. Let's go on to level 3. These are more challenging problems that we're going to do. So let's take a look. The sum of y and 7 reduced by x. All right, so we've got some variables in here, and we actually have two different operations that they are asking us for. So here's what I like to do. I like to identify my keywords. Sum, that means plus. So I'm going to write a little plus above that. Reduced by, that means subtract. So I'm going to write a little subtraction sign above that word. Where is my and? And is right here. So this and is saying that it is this term and all of this, okay? So that is what the sum portion is referring to. The sum of, I'll actually underline the of as well, the sum of these two things, and those two things are y and 7 reduced by x. So let's just write that out. Y and 7 reduced by x. So I'm just kind of rewriting and substituting out instead of and, I'm going ahead and putting in that plus sign. All right, now we talked about the word reduced, that means subtraction. So let's go ahead and rewrite this part of it. So 7 reduced by x means 7 minus x, right? So I'm going to put that in parentheses because that quantity goes together because that is the thing that I am adding to y. And then we're going to go ahead and put y plus out here. So this is how you would rewrite this expression. Okay, let's look at this next one. The difference between 12 and 2/6 of h. All right, we do have two operations that are happening in this expression as well. The difference, we know that that means subtraction, so I went ahead and underlined that and wrote the subtraction sign above. What are we subtracting? We are subtracting 12 and 2/6 of h. Okay, so I'm just going to write that part out and then we'll worry about the second part. So the difference between 12, we know we're subtracting, 2/6 of h. Okay, so I've kind of rewritten that part. Let's talk about the word of. Of means multiply. Whenever we have a fraction of another number, whether that's another fraction or another whole number, whatever it is, this means multiply. So that's a key word for us here. 2/6, we're going to rewrite as a fraction, 2 over 6. And then h is just, again, a variable, an unknown number. So let's go ahead and rewrite this as 12 minus 2/6 of h. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in parentheses. Because of order of operations, we would do multiplication first before doing subtraction, but just to make it very clear, I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses. This could also be written as 12 minus 2/6h. So I don't have a symbol there. I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses, but I don't have a symbol there in between the 2/6 and the h. Whenever we have a number, whether that's a whole number or a fraction, and a variable, and we put them together and there's no sign in between, then that always means multiplication. Let's take a look at our last problem here. The quotient of 42 and the sum of 4 and a. Got a lot going on here. Let's go ahead and see what keywords we have. Quotient, that tells me division. I see sum, that tells me addition. Okay, I also see two ands here. So let's see what those ands are referring to. The quotient of 42 and. So that tells me that that 42 is one part of that division. And then whatever is after the and, that part is what is the second part of that division. So all of this is the second part. So let's go ahead and write that part first. The quotient of 42, so we know it's 42 divided by the sum of 4 and A. Okay, so I'm just putting in the pieces that I know, and we're going to figure out the second part next. All right, so now, again, we've got the sum. We know that that means plus of the sum of, and then here's that word and. What is it that we are summing? What is it that we are adding together? So the sum of 4 and A. Those are the two pieces that we are adding together. So let's rewrite this. We've got 42 divided by the sum of, so that sum goes with these two, 4 and A. That definitely needs to go into a set of parentheses. That is what 42 is being divided by, is that sum of 4 and A, so that whole quantity of 4 plus A. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, I would really appreciate a like and even a subscribe. That really does help me to continue making these math videos for you. This is a video that is for my pre-algebra series, so if you are in pre-algebra, if you are a teacher or a parent who has a student in pre-algebra, please take a look at the description below. I've got a lot of links to other pre-algebra skills as well as just other math skills that you might find helpful. And I will see you next time.